The screenshots were already uploaded to the company portal when Marta walked into the kitchen that Friday morning, coffee mug in hand, completely oblivious to what was coming. "You're up early," she said, not looking at me as she scrolled through her phone. Always that damn phone. Couldn't sleep. I stirred my coffee, watching her. 23 years of marriage, and I'd never seen her look so distant. Big day at the agency? Always. She finally glanced up. "Tom and I have that presentation for the Morrison account. We've been working on it for weeks." Tom, her so-called work husband, the name that made my jaw clench every time I heard it. "Right, Tom." I kept my voice neutral. "You two seem to work a lot of late nights together." Marta laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh, come on, Dave. You're not seriously going to start that again, are you? He's my work husband." "It's just a professional relationship." "Work husband?" I repeated the word slowly, tasting the bitter irony. "That's what we're calling it? You're being ridiculous. And frankly, you're too sensitive about my work relationships." She grabbed her keys from the counter. "I don't have time for your insecurity this morning." I watched her head toward the garage, her heels clicking on the tile. 23 years, and she thought I was just being sensitive. "Noted," I called after her. She didn't even turn around. The garage door rumbled shut, and I pulled out my laptop. The screenshots were already there, waiting. Text messages I'd found on her phone last week when she left it charging in the living room. Messages that had nothing to do with Morrison accounts or professional relationships. "Tom, can't wait to have you all to myself tonight." Marta, "Dave's working late again." Perfect timing. Tom, "Your husband has no idea what he's missing." Marta, "What he doesn't know won't hurt him. 47 years old, 23 years of marriage, 2 kids, and this is what it comes to. Screenshots and anonymous tips to HR departments. I'd been a maintenance supervisor at the university for 15 years. Not glamorous, but steady. Reliable. Everything Marta used to say she wanted in a husband. Before she got promoted to senior account executive, before she started wearing designer clothes and staying late for client dinners that never seemed to involve actual clients. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd met Marta at her old job, a small marketing firm where I'd been doing contract electrical work. She'd been impressed that I could fix things, solve problems. "You're so practical," she used to say, like it was the sexiest thing in the world. Now practical meant boring. Reliable meant predictable. And her work husband Tom, with his BMW and his corner office and his expense account lunches, was everything I apparently wasn't. I opened the company website and navigated to the anonymous reporting portal. Hartwell and Associates took workplace relationships very seriously, according to their employee handbook, especially relationships between supervisors and their direct reports, which Tom was, according to the company directory I'd studied last night. The form was straightforward. Upload evidence. Describe the situation. Submit. I attached the screenshots, 12 of them, spanning 3 weeks. Messages that went way beyond professional courtesy. Messages that detailed exactly when and where they'd been meeting. Messages that made it clear this had been going on for months. In the description box, I typed, "Inappropriate relationship between supervisor and subordinate. Evidence attached shows violation of company policy regarding workplace relationships and potential harassment." My finger hovered over the submit button. Once I pressed it, there was no going back. Marta would know someone had been watching. Someone had evidence. She might not know it was me, but she'd know. I pressed submit. The confirmation email arrived in my inbox 30 seconds later. Case number 2024, HR 0847, under review. My phone buzzed. Text from my daughter Amy, away at college. "Dad, Mom posted another picture with her work friends. That Tom guy is in like every photo now, just saying. Even my 20-year-old daughter could see what was happening." But I was supposed to be too sensitive. I spent the rest of the morning doing what I always did on Fridays, fixing things. Broken heating unit in the science building, leaky faucet in the administration office, flickering lights in the library. Simple problems with simple solutions, unlike marriages. My phone rang around noon. Unknown number. Dave, this is Rita Kowalski from Hartwell and Associates. I'm the HR director. I think we need to talk. My heart hammered, but I kept my voice steady. I'm sorry. I think you have the wrong number. No, I don't think I do. Can you meet me for coffee this afternoon? There's something we need to discuss regarding your wife. The coffee shop she'd chosen was downtown, near her office. Rita was already there when I arrived, a sharp-looking woman in her mid-40s with graying hair and intelligent eyes that missed nothing. Thank you for coming, she said as I sat down. I'll get straight to the point. We received an anonymous report this morning about Marta and Tom Henderson. The evidence was comprehensive. I said nothing. The thing is, Dave, and I hope you don't mind me calling you Dave, we've been watching this situation for a while. Tom has a history of inappropriate relationships with subordinates. This isn't his first offense. That surprised me. It isn't? No, but it might be his last if we handle this correctly. Rita leaned forward. I'm going to be frank with you. Your wife is talented, but she's made some very poor choices. Tom has been using his position to pressure female employees into relationships. Marta isn't his first victim, but with the right evidence, she could help us make sure she's his last. Victim? The word stuck in my throat. You think she's having an affair? I think she's being manipulated by a predator who's done this before. The question is, what do you want to do about it? I stared at my untouched coffee. What are my options? We can handle this quietly. Tom gets transferred, maybe demoted. Marta gets a warning. Everything goes back to normal. Rita paused. Or we can handle this properly. Full investigation. Tom gets fired. Marta's career at Hartwell is over, but she's free to start fresh somewhere else, without Tom's influence. The choice she was offering wasn't really a choice at all. It was justice or revenge, wrapped in corporate policy. What do you need from me? Rita smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. Just keep doing what you're doing. Document everything, and trust me to handle the rest. I drove home in a daze. Marta's car was already in the driveway. She was home early for a Friday. I found her in the kitchen, phone pressed to her ear, pacing. No, Tom, you don't understand. Someone knows. HR called me in for Monday morning. Her voice was tight with panic. What if they have evidence? What if someone's been watching us? She saw me and quickly ended the call. Everything okay? I asked. Fine. Just work stuff, but her hands were shaking as she poured herself a glass of wine. At 3 p.m. Anything I can help with? She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Unless you can make HR complaints disappear? No. HR complaints? I raised an eyebrow. That sounds serious. It's nothing. Just some anonymous nonsense. Someone with too much time on their hands and not enough real problems to worry about. I nodded sympathetically. People can be petty. Exactly. She took a long drink of wine. Petty and jealous and small-minded. That night, I lay in bed, listening to Marta toss and turn beside me. Around midnight, she got up and went to the bathroom. I heard her on the phone again, whispering. Rita. It's me. I know it's late, but I'm freaking out about Monday. What do you mean you can't discuss it? You're HR, you have to know something. Fine, I'll see you Monday. Rita. The HR director who'd bought me coffee and offered me choices. Who'd seemed so concerned about Marta being a victim. Something wasn't adding up. I waited until Marta fell asleep, then crept downstairs to my laptop. A little research into Rita Kowalski revealed some interesting facts. She'd been at Hartwell for 8 years. Before that, she'd worked at Morrison and Associates, the same company where I'd done electrical work 5 years ago, the same job where I'd gotten Rita fired for falsifying expense reports. Rita Kowalski. The woman who'd sworn she'd make me pay for ruining her career. The woman who'd apparently been waiting 5 years for the perfect opportunity. The woman who was now in charge of investigating my wife's affair. Monday morning, I called in sick to work and parked across the street from Hartwell and Associates. I watched Marta walk into the building at 8:30, her shoulders set with determination. Tom arrived 10 minutes later, looking like he hadn't slept. At 9:15, Tom walked out of the building carrying a cardboard box. His face was red, and he was moving fast. Marta didn't come out until noon. When she did, she was crying. She called me from the parking lot. "Dave, can you come pick me up? I can't drive right now." I found her sitting in her car, makeup streaked down her cheeks, staring at nothing. "What happened?" "I'm suspended pending investigation. Tom's been fired." She looked at me with hollow eyes. "They have everything, Dave. Text messages, photos, hotel receipts. Someone's been watching us for weeks." I put my arm around her shoulders. She felt small and fragile, nothing like the confident woman who'd laughed at my concerns 3 days ago. "I'm sorry," I said. And I was. Not sorry for what I'd done, but sorry it had come to this. "Rita says the investigation could take weeks. They're talking to everyone, reviewing everything. My career is over." She started crying again. 20 years at that company, and it's all gone because I was stupid enough to trust Tom. Trust him how? He said he loved me. He said his marriage was over and he just needed time to figure things out. He said we could be together once he got divorced. She laughed bitterly. Turns out he's been saying the same thing to half the women in the office. Rita showed me the files. I wasn't special. I was just convenient. The pieces were falling into place. Rita hadn't been offering me justice or revenge. She'd been offering me front row seats to her own revenge. Against Tom for being a predator. Against Marta for being involved with him. And against me for destroying her career 5 years ago. She'd played us all perfectly. "What happens now?" I asked. "I don't know. Rita says if I cooperate with the investigation, testify against Tom, maybe they'll let me resign quietly instead of being fired for cause. Keep my reputation intact. And if you don't cooperate, then I'm fired, and good luck finding another job in this industry with that on my record." That evening, Rita called me. "How are you holding up, Dave?" "I've been better. Marta's pretty devastated. I imagine she is. But this is for the best, you know. She needed to see Tom for what he really is. And what's that? A manipulator, a liar, a man who preys on vulnerable women and ruins their lives." Rita's voice was cold, just like another man I used to know. There it was, the confirmation I'd been waiting for. "Rita, I think we should meet. There are some things we need to discuss." "I think you're right. Tomorrow night?" That little bar on Elm Street, Murphy's Tavern, was exactly the kind of place you'd expect for this conversation. Dim lighting, sticky floors, and bartenders who minded their own business. Rita was already there when I arrived, nursing a whiskey. "You remember me now," she said as I sat down. "I remembered you the moment I heard your voice on the phone. Rita Kowalski, Morrison and Associates, fired for submitting fake expense reports. Fired by you, specifically. You were the one who found the discrepancies. You were the one who reported me. You were stealing from the company. I was trying to survive. My husband had just left me. I had a mortgage I couldn't afford, and Morrison was paying me 30% less than my male colleagues." She took a drink. "But you didn't care about any of that. So this is payback? You orchestrated this whole thing to get back at me?" Rita smiled. "Not entirely. Tom really is a predator, and your wife really did make terrible choices. I just helped things along." "Helped how?" "Tom's been harassing women at Hartwell for 2 years. I've been building a case against him, waiting for the right moment. When Marta started working late with him, I encouraged it. Made sure they had opportunities to be alone, made sure Tom felt safe pushing boundaries." My stomach turned. You set her up. I gave her choices. She chose to have an affair with her supervisor. She chose to send inappropriate messages. She chose to meet him at hotels. Rita's eyes were hard. I didn't make those choices for her. But you made sure she'd face consequences for them. Just like you made sure I faced consequences for mine. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of 5 years of planning settling between us. What happens now? I asked. Now? Tom's career is over. He'll never work in marketing again. Your wife will resign in disgrace and spend the next few years rebuilding her reputation, if she can. And you'll go back to your quiet little life, knowing that your marriage is built on lies and your wife chose another man over you. And you? I get to watch it all fall apart. Just like you watched my life fall apart 5 years ago. I finished my beer and stood up. You know what, Rita? You're right. I did destroy your career. And you know what else? I'd do it again. Because you were stealing, and stealing is wrong, and consequences matter. Just like affairs are wrong? Just like affairs are wrong. I put money on the table. The difference is, I'm not going to spend 5 years plotting revenge. I'm going to handle this like an adult. Rita laughed. And how's that? You'll see. The next morning, I called Hartwell and Associates and asked to speak to the CEO, Michael Hartwell himself. Mr. Hartwell, this is Dave Morrison. My wife works for you, Marta Morrison. I have some information about your HR director that I think you need to hear. The meeting was scheduled for that afternoon. I brought everything: documentation of Rita's termination from Morrison and Associates, evidence of her deliberate manipulation of the Tom situation, and recordings of our conversation at Murphy's Tavern. I'd worn a wire. 23 years of marriage to a woman who lies teaches you to document everything. Michael Hartwell was a man in his 60s with silver hair and sharp eyes. He listened to everything I had to say without interruption. This is quite an accusation, Mr. Morrison. It's all true. Rita Kowalski has been using her position to orchestrate personal vendettas. She manipulated my wife and Tom Henderson into compromising positions, then used company resources to destroy them both. All because she wanted revenge against me. And why would she want revenge against you? I handed him the termination documents. Because I cost her a job 5 years ago. She was embezzling, I caught her, she got fired. She's been planning this ever since. Hartwell studied the documents. These are serious allegations. Check the timeline. Rita started working here 8 years ago, but the harassment complaints against Tom only started 2 years ago. Right around the time she would have identified him as a useful tool for her revenge. You're suggesting she allowed harassment to continue so she could use it against your wife? I'm not suggesting it. I'm stating it as fact. And I have recordings to prove it. 3 days later, Rita Kowalski was terminated for gross misconduct and abuse of her position. The investigation into Tom was handed over to an outside firm, and Marta came home with news that surprised us both. They're dropping the investigation, she said, setting her purse on the kitchen counter. The new HR director says there were irregularities in how the case was handled. They're offering me my job back. That's great news. Is it? She looked at me with tired eyes. Dave, I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth. Did you know Rita before this happened? I could have lied. Should have lied, probably, but I was tired of lies. Yes. Were you the anonymous tip? Yes. She nodded slowly like she'd expected it. How long have you known about Tom? 3 weeks. Why didn't you just ask me about it? Would you have told me the truth? She was quiet for a long moment. Probably not. That's why. Marta sat down at the kitchen table, suddenly looking older than her 45 years. So what happens now? Do you want a divorce? Do you? I don't know. I don't know anything anymore. She looked up at me. I'm sorry, Dave. For all of it. For Tom, for lying, for making you feel like you couldn't talk to me. I'm sorry, too, for not trusting you enough to try. Where does that leave us? I sat down across from her. I guess that's up to us. 6 months later, we were still figuring it out. Marriage counseling twice a week. Honest conversations that hurt but helped. Marta had taken the job back but requested a transfer to a different department. Tom had moved to another state. Rita had disappeared entirely. The funny thing about revenge is that it never feels as good as you think it will. I'd gotten what I wanted. The affair was over. The lies were exposed. The people who'd hurt us had faced consequences. But I'd also learned that sometimes the people plotting revenge aren't the ones you expect. And sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's just choosing to build something better from the wreckage. But that's a story for another day. The end. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.